Miss Dawn Miller, we are so grateful that you came on the show to share your story with our viewers and our listeners. Would you please tell us what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Sure. Right now, I am preparing to take my superintendent certification test, having just finished all of my coursework for that. I'm in my second year as the Director of Administrative Services at Ector County ISD here in Odessa. We just got our accountability scores out. We made it to a B. That's the first time in the history of this district. We've been a D district forever. Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing. Everybody was going crazy. You know, it's not supposed to be released till another day, but by the time people see this, it'll be fine.
100%.
But we are super excited. There's some great things going on in our district, and I'm just really blessed to be in the role that I'm in.
That's good. Wow. So you just finished your superintendent certification. So it's clear that you're a very ambitious educator, which is great. So let's kind of go back to the beginning. How did you get into K-12 education in the first place? How long have you been doing it?
So I got into the K-12 education field in 98.
Okay.
You know, I know most educators know the years. I really have only been in the field maybe going on 9 years now.
Okay.
Because I've ebbed and flowed.
Okay.
I wasn't a career educator. I went to school for Spanish, and I planned that I would be in international business and traveling all over the world, you know, translating. But God has a great way of laughing when you make plans. So he led me down different paths. So my first job actually out of the gate, when I got back to Milwaukee, I'm from Milwaukee. Okay. I went to a HBCU, yes, Morris Brown College. Just got our accreditation back. So I'm super excited about that. Our reset. Yep. Thank you.
Yep.
Yes, sir. AUC. When I got back to Milwaukee, I said, can't really find a job. You know, so there's the field that you can always find work in is Spanish. But I was like, I don't have certification. I just have a degree. But, you know, I taught in a private school. I taught in a private Christian school for a very prominent bishop in the Church of God in Christ faith. And I think he's like a national bishop now. So I taught in one of the beginning years of his school as a Spanish teacher. And that was a unique experience. Private school has its own quirks, you know. Went from there and went into social service. Left the education field completely and did some social, not as a social worker, but I worked for a nonprofit organization as a parent liaison, helping parents of adjudicated youth. That transferred into me leaving that field and going back into education, but higher education. Okay. I became an advisor. I was an advisor at UW Milwaukee for several years. First with an Upward Bound program for high school students. I'm sure you're familiar. Yes. And then later, again, I returned for about 2 years for adult returning students, the non-traditional students, helping them kind of figure out some who weren't even going after a degree, some who were just coming to audit classes. Didn't even know that was a thing that people wanted to do, but there were a lot of older adults who just wanted to continue expanding their mind. So I would help them determine what that fit looked like and how to navigate the application process and all of that. Left there, went to the YMCA, became a national trainer.
Wow. Okay.
I tell you, my career's just had all kinds of changes, right? Sure. And during that point, I had always been an actress. In high school. And so I went to visit one of my directors from high school, and she was very well connected in the New York scene and the Milwaukee scene. And she said, Dawn, they've been looking for someone, and I think I just found who they need for the next T-Moon to be T-Moon and Once on This Island. And that was actually the year I came back when I was teaching at the private school, right? Okay. But I said it later because I was just doing it on the side. But at the point that I was at the Y, I had done so many major productions that had done well, gotten great reviews, that now I was getting calls for shows that I wasn't actually auditioning for. They'd say, hey, Dawn, we got a show coming up. We want you to be this role. Are you available?
Wow.
Sure. I quit my job, did 20 years
Wow.
as a full-time actress. Went from local theater to our major theater houses. And these were paid, made my living. And then ended up doing a tour.
Okay.
In the tour, I was with Jack A. Harry, Gary Owen. It was the same production company that works with Tyler Perry Studios.
Okay.
When he was still doing plays, they were the same production company.
Wow.
Did all of that. It was an Elin Harris play. It was called
Yeah.
Not a Day Goes By. So we did that. Met Elin Harris. Was awesome. It was the first time any of his books, and I don't know if ever any since then, were converted into a stage play.
Wow.
Did a movie. A couple movies, did some commercials, and then decided to relocate to Texas. And of course, the first thing I go back to is education. So went into charter school because, again, I still didn't have certification. So and I wasn't necessarily, because I'm not a career educator, I wasn't necessarily knowledgeable about the route to take as a professional at that time. Right. So I just kept staying on the fringes. But the fringes don't pay as well as the public. So while I was at the charter school, a public school district was promoting, hey, we need teachers in these fields. We'll help you get certified. So I got into a non-traditional alternative certification program and went to a public school. Taught there for 2 years. And during the time I was there, they became a district of innovation. I don't know if you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
District of Innovations, for anybody who doesn't know, in Texas, that's the route we're using to fill our roles in education with people like me who don't have certification, but have the skill sets to provide, great education to our students.
Wonderful. So
with the District of Innovation, I had already taken, I'll tell you, this is I'll give you this one for free, man. Everything giving you is for free, right? But I went and took that test twice. It's the LOT, the language other than English. K-12, right?
Okay.
Native speakers take it 5 times before they pass.
That's how hard it is, yeah.
It's that hard. Because what people don't realize is non-Spanish speakers wrote it. And what they don't realize, it's in 5 different dialects. And no matter how much we've told them, first of all, some of the dialects you're using, we don't even use in the United States. There are some dialects that are germane to that area of country, whether it be Peru or Guatemala. Those are different dialects.
Sure.
We speak the Mexican form of Spanish, right?
Absolutely. So
native speakers take it 5 times. Well, I'm not a career educator. I'm not invested in Texas tests to pay $350 a pop 5 different times. It's just not of interest to me, right? I'll go back to another field. So I said, forget it. Oh, District of Innovation, what does that mean? Well, we got a waiver for foreign language. Bet. So I didn't have to take the test anymore. So now I'm fully certified locally is what I was considered. Okay. And then we decided to become an IB school.
Okay.
And so they needed someone to be the coordinator. So if you know about the IB program, a coordinator within the program, whether it be the MYP, the middle year program, or the PYP, the primary year program, you are considered an administrator. Oh. So that thrust me into the field of administration. Okay. So I became the MYP coordinator for the middle school that I was at for 2 years. Got to travel. IB has a phenomenal training format. It's phenomenal. So I was the 3rd administrator on campus. It was awesome. And then, as I would always do, I left education because we were going through a rift. And I didn't want to be in the bunch when everybody else was going to be looking. So I left early, went into sales, went into car sales, stayed in car sales for a while. Yep, I was in car sales, left car sales, went into real estate, but not typical real estate, investment real estate with an investment firm. And while doing that, my father took sick. We lost him last year, but during that time, I went every 3 weeks to visit him. I'm the only girl. I'm daddy's girl, so I'm here. So
is he still in Milwaukee? Was he still in Milwaukee?
Yes, he was still in Milwaukee.
Okay.
So I would travel every 3 weeks. And this is pre-COVID, into COVID, and during COVID, right?
Wow.
So I'm traveling. It was the weirdest thing. Airports completely empty.
Yeah.
Everything closed. That was the weirdest time traveling. Full airplane with 5 people on it. Wow. Everybody was like, it's so unsafe. I was like, there are 5 people on here, and 3 of them are stewardess. Are flight attendants. You know what I mean? Like, it was not unsafe. It was super safe. It's more unsafe now than it was then. 100. But during that time, my investment firm didn't want to give me the time off because I was salaried, and they were like, we can't give you other. So I went and started helping a friend who has a funeral home.
Wow.
And so I started trying to help him with organizing his funeral home. He's a young guy, just turned 40, phenomenal business, but just doesn't have it organizationally arranged. So I went in and became his manager of his business, operations manager, and just kind of helped tweak and put some things together. And while there, friend from years back when I was a school board trustee, because I was an elected trustee, said, hey, I got a position that we're getting ready to create that I think it's perfect for you. So I'm getting ready to see if we can change the job description to make certification preferred, but not required. And then we'll see if we can get you in. And you guys know in education, anybody knows, yes, it's about what you know. Yes, it's about your certifications, but it is absolutely more about who you know. There are some positions that never get posted because you get a call and say, hey, we need you. So if you guys don't network, I'm telling you now, network. I go to every conference there is, TABC, TASB, NABC, you name it. I'm there.
Whatever the acronym, huh?
Whatever the acronym is, right? I want to be there so that when people are looking for professionals for their next role, they say, oh, I remember this crazy girl I met at the conference, because I train at all of these conferences. So during the course of coming here, I decided what I did for my friend in the funeral home, what I've learned in education, I know a little bit to help small businesses, to help professionals. And then because I had been a trustee at a lot of these conferences, they have aspiring superintendent tracks, right? And so during that track, they would call myself in and a very good friend of mine who's the president of her board. And we go in and tell them what it looks like as an interview. How do you become a superintendent? These are the things we're looking for as a board member. Nobody had ever been saying that. They'd say, oh, that was a good interview. No, we went in there saying you're not dressed right. You didn't speak correctly. The way you walked in the room didn't show power and command of this interview. So it just kind of started snowballing into individuals who were aspiring to become a superintendent, contacting us individually and saying, can you help me? Well, that's where Dawn L. Miller Consulting and Strategic Management came. I said, I'm helping a lot of professionals become superintendents. Why don't I do this as a firm and help people do it on a regular basis? Sure. So I started my firm. I do that in addition to my role here in Ector County. I assist aspiring superintendents preparing everything from their interview proposal. You have to do sometimes a 5-minute presentation. I help them with that. I help them with getting prepared for the questions because we all ask pretty universal questions.
Sure.
So I do full interview prep. I help individuals who are trying to become major executives because those are also on the same level with superintendent interview in terms of the preparation. I help organizations like my friend's funeral home, like a trucking company in Memphis, like a nonprofit organization in Houston, and I help them organize their business. If it's nothing, I create it from nothing and make it into something in terms of every step. And if it is something, but they need some strategy to take it to the next level, I help them do that. And then politically is still my major interest. So I help a lot of politics in terms of mayors become mayors or retain their seats, city council, school board members, not mayor pro tems, justice of the peace, judges. I've helped many get into office. So I do all of that under my consulting and strategic management, and I'm just having a ball. So it's a long journey, right?
No, it's very interesting, and I hope that our viewers are hearing what you're saying. Like, there's more than one route to get to where you want to be, and it sounds like you have mastered that. No matter what the profession, whether it's acting, whether it's working with future superintendents, school boards, like you said, politicians. I mean, this is amazing. So you actually run election campaigns?
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Full campaign management, from platform development, speech writing. I have a client now. Say again.
Website development.
I have clients. See, I know my areas. I can't help you develop. I can help you with the content, but sure. I refer you to I have a team of people Excellent. Who are all out here doing the same thing. I support African-American businesses hugely. So I have someone that can help small businesses get their LLCs. I can help them become nonprofits. I have that same person. It's a friend of mine in Milwaukee. I have my godson's wife she did my web development, and she develops beautiful websites. So I have key people who I can send them to. All I can do for you is help you speak well and come up with the strategy and the words that should be on your platform. Everything else, I let someone else do that. But one thing I wanted to point out too, like what I found is that my ability to educate can translate into so many different fields. And I say that because I'm 51 and I'm by no means burned out, right?
Yeah.
But there are some people at our age who have been in the education field 25, 30 years. But there are other things that you can do to utilize the same certification that you have. But what I find so many educators are germane to, the only thing I know is the classroom. I don't enjoy it anymore, but what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stay here till I get my rule of 80 here in Texas. We get the rule of 80, then I can retire. Like, well, I don't believe in that. I just don't believe in that. If I'm not fulfilled, go do something that will fulfill you and learn, how do I segue from a principal or from a superintendent, from a teacher into my next? Well, I can tell you, as my example, there are multiple fields that are seeking people who have the skills. We don't realize the skill sets that we have to be a teacher. Time management, organizational structure, being able to manage people. You have so many skills that professionals are looking for that you could quadruple your income. I'm interviewing with a major corporation right now. And the main thing that they jumped on was my background in education.
Wow, that's awesome. Not to mention you habla español, so that's excellent too.
Sí, right? Es perfecto. Tiene dos lenguas, es perfecto, porque todas las personas no pueden hablar en español, y exactamente personas de color, de afroamericanos, de morenos, cualquier que dice, es muy importante. Dice,
muy importante.
Sí, personas dicen, tú eres una puertorriqueña, una cubana, because they don't believe that I could at all be an American, African American.
Yeah. Well, you know that old joke, what do you call a person that only knows one language? American.
Yep, they're like, she's got to be something else.
Yeah. Well, mi esposa es colombiana, mi hija habla español excelente, so it's good,
I love it.
Yeah, and actually we have them in dual language programs, so we want them to not only, they already are fluent in Spanish and English, but we also want them to know how to read it and write it, because they're also dual citizens in Colombia and the US. And so if they choose, for example, a profession like medicine, it's super difficult sometimes to get into medical school in the US. They can go to Colombia and do their residency in the United States. So there's more than one way. It's just like you were saying, there's so many different ways to get to the end game or the end result that you're seeking. So I'm super grateful that you're sharing these things. And I know our viewers are getting value out of this, because, there are people that watch, my show that might be interested in becoming, like you said, an administrator or a superintendent, or maybe even getting to the teaching profession. And maybe they're afraid of the fact that, they have to take these tests. But like you said, there's so many, especially with the shortages that are out there, there's so many different alternative programs that allow people to get into the education profession just based upon, like you said, their skill set, their experience that they bring from other profession. So yeah, I really, really appreciate you sharing all these things. So the one thing that I do want to do, Don, is I want to make sure that we get all of your contact information and we put it in the show notes, because obviously there's somebody out there, they're hearing you, but they're still going to need that guidance on how they would do some of these things. So would you be willing to share that as well?
Absolutely. My email address is dawn.miller@dawnlmiller.org. My
Oh,
website is dawnlmiller.org.
okay.
And any social media platform, I'm Dawn Miller. You will
That's
find
awesome.
me everywhere.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we'll definitely put all of that information in our show notes so people can contact you. So if you had to do it all over again, because you shared so many different things that you've done in your career, would you have kept it the same way that it turned out?
The one thing, and if I changed this one thing, none of these other things would have happened. So maybe
Oh,
I would have kept it. But the one thing was, my director from high school set me up for an audition at Juilliard.
oh wow.
And I went to my dad and told my dad, now, mind you, you should be able to tell by my career path, I'm not your typical person. So imagine what I was when I was a fiery young teenager. If my dad said go left, I was like, oh, I like what you said, but I think I'm gonna go right.
Yeah.
It just was me. I never listened to my dad, not in a disrespectful way, but because my dad was like super open, like, okay, if that's what you want. I lost my mom when I was 12, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
both of my parents succumbed to cancer. So
Mm.
it was just me and my dad. We were Butch Cassidy and a Sundance Kid until he remarried, right?
Wow.
So he would always say, I want you to be outgoing and outspoken. So he said, I don't think you should go to Juilliard because actors and actresses don't make any money.
Oh wow.
You need to have a backup plan. So
Mm.
go get your degree. And then if you want to do it, then do it afterwards.
Wow.
Well, my dad, by the time he got to be 55 and they have the special, on Tuesdays to go see movies for $5 instead of the 10, I said, Daddy, years later, right? Do you realize all the people that are in the movies that you go watch are actors and actresses and they're making hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars? And you told me back in 1989 that you couldn't make any money acting. He said, yeah, I guess I just, he would always say, I was born in 1938. I didn't know nothing about no acting as no career, but love movies. You couldn't beat my dad sitting up watching movies. But so I say that to say, had I gone to Juilliard, as she had told me, and she was upset. And she was the same director who, as soon as I came home, said, Dawn, I got an audition. And when I started getting all the roles, she said, I told you, you got it. The Jewish women love to say chutzpah. You got chutzpah, and she was like, Dawn, I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, you have it. So go do it. So had I listened to her and not listened to my father, the one time in my life,
that's what I'm going to say. That was the one time you listened to him.
The one time I listened to him. Yeah. So we laughed about that. I think after that first showing of the first show I was in, and of course he came to opening night and the reviews started coming out. My dad wasn't a crier. The old school parents, the men especially didn't cry a lot. But when Daddy did this, you knew he was crying. And he said, you know what? I'm sorry.
Wow.
Said I didn't know. My dad was big. Like, I apologize all the time because he modeled that. Like, never be too big to say you were wrong. He was like, I just didn't know. So that would be the one thing. I would have gone directly to Juilliard, which would have had me, in New York scene, in the movies, in plays. Who knows where I'd be now? I wouldn't have had my children, it would have been a whole different. I have 2 daughters. I wouldn't have had them. It's all kinds of things that wouldn't have happened had I done that. Because I also left out, I did a stint as a professional singing artist.
Oh, wow.
I'm on the On Time God album of Dottie Peoples, toured with her for a little while. Sony offered me an opportunity to have a record deal.
Wow.
While I was on tour, I went and walked in. My godbrother was big in the radio business. So he made some phone calls and he was like, when you're in New York, just go there, take your kit. I always had my kit, photo, bio with on the back, glossy, the old school, right? So I walk in Sony, I give them my demo CD, and I leave. And they call them and say, we love her voice, hate her look. Because I was Midwestern. At that time, and I'll tell you, this is so amazing to me. So when I look at Shakira and Mariah Carey and Beyonce, there were none of those ladies. But they were looking for that model. They wanted a singer who was sultry, sexy, and had sex appeal. And oh yeah, they can sing. So they said, we want her to be more sexy. We want to do this. Well, I had 2 daughters, and I had a daddy who was a preacher. Now I'm not gonna wear I'm not knocking what they do, but it ain't gonna be your girl. I'm not gonna be on stage in a bathing suit, essentially, flesh tone at that, that's not my deal. And I can sing. So I always feel like if I can sing, I shouldn't have to accentuate all the other things. Just hear my voice. Wow. And we didn't have neo soul. None of that was out then. So they said, okay, if she doesn't want to change her look, then she needs to move to New York and we'll pay her to be a studio singer. So I would have been on salary, singing on the backgrounds of individuals or singing, when writers write a song, they have what's called a scratch version of it. And that's just any random singer who sings the song, and then you send it to artists or record labels to see if they'll buy it. Like I learned so much about the industry. So I would have been that person that would have been on Sony songs, just singing them for the writers so that the artist could decide, yeah, I like that. Let's add this, let's add that, right? But I was in New York for that week doing our play. Oh, this small little kid, maybe kinder, on the subway with his little backpack and all his little friends. And I was like, at the time, my kiddos were 3 and 7. And I was like, there is no way I'm raising my kids in New York to be on the subway with a book bag. Like, nah. So a lot of things that could have been great for my career, because of my values, because of my morals, because of my family upbringing, I declined them. And that's a lesson too. There's a lot of people who go after the fame, and I could have had it. Sure. Some people say I had it on a small scale when we were in this play. But, we were in the jet. I was featured in the jet. We were all out there. But it wasn't that important for me to sacrifice my children's upbringing, where they rode bikes in the neighborhood, where they swung on swings and hung out by the little creek by our house. You know what I mean? I didn't want to sacrifice that for me. When I chose to have them, I had to give me up.
No, I get it.
So I completely left the entertainment field altogether. Still think about, I could go back. People have movies with older people in them all the time. Yeah. So, that's something that never ends. My ability to act and sing is never going to stop. Some people say, well, I lost my voice. No, you lost your voice because of choices, because you probably smoke, you probably drink, probably stay up too late. Well, I don't do the things that harm my voice. No, so I will be able to sing till whenever God says, come on home. So you might see me on a play or in a movie. You never know.
That's actually a good segue. Like if I didn't see you for the next 5 years, we're in 2022. If I all of a sudden saw you 5 years later in 2027, where do you see yourself? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing?
Right now, my theme that I just came up with about 3 weeks ago, promise you, is God's honest truth, is take the limits off.
I love it. Say that again.
Take the limits off.
I like that.
And that came from the reason why I saw you on LinkedIn is because I said, I've had enough of this desert. I've never lived in a small town in my life. And I never choose to live here again. It has been awesome to take my career, progression to the next level. Working at the district level as a director is awesome. Director of Administrative Services evidently means something to people. It doesn't mean anything to me because I've never been hung up on titles. But hey, if that's what I need to get to my next level, cool. But I'm done. My assignment is over. Come on, move me to my next. So I'm on LinkedIn and I'm applying only in Houston because that's where my daughters are.
Okay.
In Dallas because that's where I lived for the last 20 years.
Okay.
And getting no bites. Like 0 bites, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm a preacher.
Okay.
So I looked at that as being a message from the Lord to say, maybe that's not it. And I said, why am I limiting myself?
Take the limit.
For years, I had to, right? Because I can't go all these different places and I got 2 little girls with me.
Sure.
I got to give them stability. I got to give them continuity. So I can't work a high-powered career because I got to give them parent-teacher conference. I got to give them, meet the teacher night. I got to be there. So there are things I had opportunities to do that I said, I can't do this now because it's about them. Well, they're 25 and 21 now. Why am I still limiting myself to either be where they are or close to where they are? Dawn, stop it. Take the limits off. I took the limits off, started applying across the U.S. I've been interviewing for the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Figure, right?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So 5 years from now, I'm either going to be the executive director of a major organization in either policy, or I'll be, in this corporation, I hope, doing some phenomenal things in terms of their employee relations on a national level, doing some diversity and inclusion training for them. So I definitely see a DEI in my future.
Okay.
That's something that or was it DIA, I guess, that I'm saying DEI, that's acronym is education. But I'm looking into that field, or you just might see me back on the big screen. Okay. That's still in my thoughts, it's still, and I'm one that says, if you I know it sounds cliche, if you can dream it, you can achieve it. But I really live that. I've really lived that. Everything that I thought I wanted to do, it has manifested in my life. Everything. Yeah. Like, it amazes me. So the last thing that I wanted to manifest in my life was major corporate exposure. I've never done private sector. I mean, I've never, I've always done public sector. I've always done government. I've never done corporate work. Wow. So I want to master that, and I want to be a mover and shaker, not for my name, but just to show other African-American women at 50, that's not the end.
No, it's not the end. No,
it's the beginning of something greater, because you're more confident. You know yourself better. I told people I'm no longer interviewing. I'm introducing.
Ooh, I like it.
I'm not interviewing because that means I want something that you have for me. Ooh. But when I say I'm introducing, I walk in with the confidence saying, I am your next fill in the blank. You just haven't met me yet. So hi, here I am.
I love it. That's really powerful. I like how you said that.
Mm-hmm. And I did it in the interview, and the recruiter was like, okay, it worked. We got to continue this conversation. Absolutely. Because I'm your next.
I love it.
I know you still have a position open, but you found your candidate. Wow. Nice to meet you. Introduce, not interview.
Really powerful. I like that. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think, that's going to really resonate with people out there, because like you said, take the limits off. And, when I'm in a quote interview, I'm not interviewing, and I'm not trying to get you to give me something. I'm introducing myself to you, and I'm showing you what I can bring to the table. So I love that. That's really, really powerful. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
And if they don't choose you, guess what? Doesn't mean that you weren't great for the role. Just means they couldn't see it. So it's their loss, not yours.
100%. Like you said, if you want to make God smile, tell him your plans, because he might have other plans. So you also mentioned at the beginning that you had just finished your superintendent certification. Do you see yourself, are you just preparing, as TD likes to say, are you just positioning yourself to prosper by making sure you have that? If you need to play that, like if you need to play that hand, you got it.
Come on. I just believe in having all the tools. I want my tool belt to be full. So if an opportunity presents itself, I want no obstacles to be in my way. So I'm even doing the educational side. I'm not doing the EDD. I'm doing a PhD.
I love it.
In industrial organizational psychology. But I'm being led right now to put that on hold. It's interesting you say Jake's. I'm applying to go to his seminary.
Oh wow. Okay. Good for you. Yeah, he's really had a big impact on my life. So yeah, that's really, really good. I am super grateful that you came on the show, Don, and you're just sharing all these great golden nuggets with our viewers and our listeners. But before you leave, would you please leave our viewers and our listeners with some parting words of wisdom? You've already told us how we could connect with you, but could you please tell us again how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Sure. My words of wisdom will be my theme. Take the limits off.
I love it.
If you are not fulfilled, it's no one's fault but yourself. No one holds you back from anything. You hold yourself back.
Yeah.
That's just period. So whatever that looks like for you, if it's a teacher who wants to be an administrator, then go find out what you can do. You know, if you're in a district like mine, there are all kinds of paths that don't necessarily require you to spend money. My district is paying for people to go become counselors.
Wow.
They're paying for people to become administrators. With this great resignation and this great retirement season in education, there is no reason why you cannot get to the next level. So 100%. Take the limits off and stop creating your own obstacles. Get out of your way. That would be my parting words. I just believe everybody, your attitude is your altitude. And I add at the end, so soar. Got to change your mindset and then fly.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You also said something earlier that I really, really resonate with. You said everything that you thought of, it eventually manifested in your life. And I can really relate to that because, you know, if you think about everything in our world today, everything happened twice, right? It happened twice in your imagination, and then it had to be manifested in the actual physical realm. So whether we're talking about, you know, the computer or the phone that you're looking at, or the, you know, anything in your house, like someone had to visualize that first in their mind before it actually became manifested in our physical universe. Yes, sir. Right? So that's super powerful. And I'm so grateful you shared that, because I believe the same thing. Like, I didn't just, like, even this show didn't exist two months ago.
Come on.
Right? And now I have over 3,500 people that have subscribed to it. Right. And it's just growing every day. So you're right. I mean, there's no limits. Like, I saw a niche, I saw a need, and I was like, our K-12 profession is not celebrated enough. I feel like we have the greatest profession in the world, where the profession makes all other professions possible.
Yes.
I'm going to celebrate people that work in this great profession, right? And I'll be the one to interview them. I'll choose myself, right?
Yes.
And so,
why not me? Why not you?
Why not, right? And so this is so powerful that you're sharing this, because I resonate and I definitely agree. And we have the same value system as it relates to this. So thank you so much for coming on the show. And all I would ask is that let's just keep in touch. And, you know, as you make these next, what I call major moves or money moves in your life, I definitely would love to have you come back on the show.
Absolutely. So let me tell you about my YouTube and all my other channels to follow. Okay. Follow me on YouTube, Writing with Dawn Miller. I give positive affirmations every day.
Okay.
You might say little sermons. Follow me on Twitter. I'm Dawn L. Miller. On Instagram, I'm Dawn Miller 26. And on Facebook, I am Dawn Miller. And again, my website is dawnlmiller.org. Please reach out to me.
100%. We'll put all of that information in our show notes, and definitely we want people to reach out to you, because I love your spirit. There's definitely greatness within you. Thank you so much, Dawn.
It was a pleasure meeting and speaking with you as well, Dr. Joseph.
All right. All the best.